Apple just raised the iPhone 18 Pro price by $300, and somehow that is not even the biggest story this week. A leaked internal memo just gave us the clearest picture yet of when this thing launches, who is running the show, and what is actually inside it. And there is one feature, one that has been rumored for over 2 years, that I think changes how you understand iPhone cameras permanently. We will get there. But first, let's talk about that price. Here is everything happening at once. iPhone 18 Pro and the iPhone Ultra are both landing this fall. Between a leaked Apple retail memo, a CEO transition happening September 1st, and three features that have been teased for years finally arriving together, this launch is genuinely different from anything Apple has done in a while. I have tracked every piece of reporting from Bloomberg, Ming-Chi Kuo, and The Information to give you one clean breakdown. No speculation padded out to sound like information, just what we actually know and what it means for you. And there is one detail about this year's event that I think matters more than the hardware. We will get to it. Let's start with when. Apple has not announced anything officially, but a memo obtained by Bloomberg told retail employees to prepare for a launch in the first half of September. Apple opened a lottery, yes, an actual lottery, for retail staff who want to work the in-person event. So the machine is already moving. Based on the calendar, the most likely date for the iPhone 18 event is Wednesday, September 9th. Here is why. Labor Day falls on September 7th this year. Apple almost always holds its iPhone event on the second Tuesday or Wednesday of September, and they typically need a travel window built in before the event, which puts Wednesday the 9th directly in the target zone. After that, pre-orders would likely begin Saturday, September 12th, and the actual release date, the day you can hold one, would probably be Friday, September 18th. There is a backup scenario where the event slides to September 15th, pre-orders hit September 18th, and the release date becomes September 25th. Either way, we are close. Now, here's the part I said nobody is talking about. On September 1st, John Ternus officially becomes Apple's CEO. Tim Cook is out. Ternus, the man who has been running Apple's hardware engineering for years, isn't. That means iPhone 18 is not just a new product cycle. It is the first major launch of a completely different era of Apple. That is not a footnote. That is the actual story. Okay, let's talk about what is actually inside the iPhone 18 Pro. Because there are three upgrades coming, and every single one of them has been rumored for years. Let's start with the one I think matters most. Number one, variable aperture camera. The Information First reported this over 2 years ago. At the time, iPhone 17 was the target model. Then Ming-Chi Kuo said, no, it is iPhone 18. And now the latest reporting confirms variable aperture is arriving on the iPhone 18 Pro's main camera. Here's what that actually means. Variable aperture means the lens opening can physically change size like a DSLR, wide open in low light to pull in more exposure, narrower for sharper depth of field when there is plenty of brightness around you. Your iPhone would finally be making the same mechanical decisions your eyes make automatically. That is not a spec sheet bullet point. That is a fundamentally different camera experience. Number two, smaller dynamic island. The notch arrived on iPhone 10 in 2017. The dynamic island replaced it in 2022. And we have been waiting 4 years for Apple to shrink it. That wait ends with iPhone 18 Pro. Rumors put the new cutout at about 35% smaller than the current design, which, if you have ever watched a video on your iPhone and thought, why is there a floating black shape at the top of my screen, you already know exactly why this matters. And iOS 27's new Siri design actually hints at this shift too, suggesting the software is already being built around a smaller island. Number three, the C2 modem. Apple launched its first in-house modem, the C1, just last year. The iPhone 18 Pro is expected to drop Qualcomm entirely and move to Apple's own next-gen C2 chip. Faster speeds, better efficiency, stronger privacy, and one more piece of Apple's hardware stack that it now controls completely, from chip to camera to connectivity. Three features: variable aperture, smaller dynamic island, C2 modem. All things Apple has been building toward for years, all landing in the same phone at the same time now, the iPhone Ultra. This is Apple's first foldable phone. Short and wide, not tall and thin like Samsung's flip-style devices. It is powered by the same 2nm A20 chip as the iPhone 18 Pro, and early projections suggest it could capture 25% of the entire foldable market in its first year alone, which, if accurate, would make Samsung very uncomfortable at dinner. But here is where it gets genuinely interesting in a little strange. The iPhone Ultra is not expected to launch with Face ID. It is not expected to have a telephoto camera at launch. For a device starting at $2,300, you are paying for the form factor, the engineering achievement of Apple cracking foldables on attempt number one, the feeling of being first. Whether that trade-off is worth it is a question only you can answer honestly. Let's talk about money. iPhone 18 Pro starts at $1,399. That is a $300 jump from last year's model, which is, let's just say it, a lot. Apple is also rolling out a leasing program alongside these launches, monthly hardware subscriptions. The idea being that $1,399 feels less alarming when it is broken into a manageable monthly number. Whether that actually works depends entirely on how you feel about paying rent on your phone. And I am not saying that as a joke. That is genuinely what it is. A subscription to hardware you never fully own. Apple is betting that enough people will find that easier to stomach than writing a four-figure number at checkout. They are probably right. Here's where I land on all of this. The iPhone 18 Pro is the most compelling flagship Apple has built on paper in years. Variable aperture alone changes the conversation around mobile photography. The smaller dynamic island is long overdue, and honestly should have happened sooner. The C2 modem means Apple's silicon story is now complete from end to end, but $1,399 is a real number. And if you are not someone who pushes a camera system to its limits, the iPhone 17 Pro is probably still genuinely fine for you. The iPhone Ultra is for a specific kind of person. Someone who wants to be first, someone comfortable paying for potential rather than perfection, and someone who does not mind sitting at a table explaining why their $2,300 phone does not have a telephoto lens yet. Either way, September 9th cannot come soon enough. Because John Ternus takes the Apple stage for the first time with a higher price tag, a foldable wildcard, and three features that have been building for years. That is not a normal September. I am curious, are you upgrading this year or sitting this one out? Because at $1,399 and $2,300, Apple just made that the hardest question it has ever asked.